Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, you're joining us as we get into something really important for how organizations, well, how they handle the unexpected. We're talking about business continuity management systems, or BCMS.
Yeah, think of it as the playbook organizations use to keep going when things go wrong.
Exactly. And for you, the listener, this is kind of an insider's look at how the businesses you interact with try to, keep services running smoothly, even during disruptions.
That's right. And for this deep dive, we're really going to zero in on one specific part, Clause 8 of ISO 223.13.2020. It's called operation.
Operation. So this is where the rubber meets the road, basically.
Pretty much. It's less about the theory and more about how an organization actually puts business continuity into practice day to day.
Okay, cool. So think of Clause 8 as like the engine room.
Yeah.
And today we're kind of your instructors, walking you through it piece by piece.
Yep. Our goal is to break down each subclause so it's clear, understandable, and you can really see how these systems work in action.
All right, let's do it. So we start with 8.1, operational planning and control.
That's the one. 8.1, operational planning and control.
Okay, diving right in. The first bit, 8.1.1, is just called general. Sounds pretty foundational. What's the main idea here?
Well, think of 8.1.1 as the bridge. It takes you from, say, the high-level plans, the strategy documents, down to the actual, daily tasks and processes.
Ah, okay.
It's saying the organization needs to build its business continuity needs into how it operates normally. It's where the theory starts becoming, practical steps.
Gotcha. So it's not a separate thing bolted on the side. It's meant to be integrated.
Ideally, yes.
Okay, next is 8.1.2, business continuity management. That sounds a little like defining itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, it can seem that way. But this subclause really focuses on the ongoing activities, implementing and then maintaining business continuity.
Okay, the doing part.
Exactly. The standard even has a figure 5, showing it's like a cycle. We don't have the visual, but the key thing is this isn't a one-shot deal. It's a continuous process you have to keep managing.
Right, not build it and forget it.
Yeah.
More like keeping a garden going, constant tending.
That's a great analogy, which leads perfectly into 8.1.3, maintaining business continuity.
Makes sense. So what does maintaining involve here?
This is all about the proactive stuff an organization needs to do to keep its BCMS effective. Things change, right? Internally, externally.
Sure, new risks pop up, people change roles.
Precisely. So this means regular reviews, updates, adapting the plans and capabilities so they still work when things are different. Like maintaining your car needs regular checks.
Okay, so 8.1 is about getting the operational wheels turning and keeping them turning effectively.
Yeah.
Good start. Let's move to 8.2. Business impact analysis and risk assessment. This sounds critical, like understanding the problem space.
Absolutely. And 8.2.1, the general part here, basically introduces this whole section as the bedrock for making smart BC decisions. You can't plan effectively if you don't know what you're protecting and what you're protecting it from.
Right. Diagnosis before treatment. Makes total sense. So let's get into 8.2.2, business impact analysis, the BIA. What's an organization actually doing here?
Okay, the BIA. This is where an organization gets really granular about what's essential. It means identifying first its key products and services.
What it delivers to the world.
Exactly. Then figuring out the specific activities that make those products and services happen. And then this is crucial, analyzing the impacts if those activities stop.
Impacts like losing money.
That's part of it, sure, financial loss, but also reputational damage, maybe legal trouble, operational chaos, all sorts of things. The BIA also digs into the resources these critical activities rely on.
Like IP systems, people.
Yep, IT, key staff, suppliers, buildings, utilities, you name it. The real insight, though, isn't just listing everything. It's finding that critical thread, the activity that, if it breaks, the whole thing unravels.
Finding the linchpin activity.
Yeah.
Okay. And for the listener, this really shows how deep organizations need to go in understanding themselves.
Right. Absolutely. It's a thorough self-assessment.
Okay, so after the BIA identifies what hurts, we have 8.2.3, risk assessment. How's this different?
Good question. If the BIA is about the consequences, how bad it hurts, the risk assessment is more about the likelihood of bad things happening and how vulnerable the organization is.
Okay. Likelihood and vulnerability.
Right. So here you're identifying potential threats. Could be anything: floods, cyber attacks, pandemics, supply chain failures.
The list goes on.
It does. And you also look at weaknesses, like maybe your only data center is in a floodplain. That's a vulnerability. The key thing here is prioritizing. You focus on the risks that are both likely and would have a big impact, hitting those critical activities the BIA found.
Got it. So BIA matters most in what happens if it breaks. Risk assessment, what's likely to break it, and how weak are our defenses.
That's a very neat summary. Yeah.
Okay, that naturally leads us to 8.3, business continuity strategies and solutions. This must be where we start figuring out how to prevent or fix those breaks.
Exactly right. 8.3.1 is the general intro, just saying, okay, now we develop ways to handle the impacts and risks we just identified.
And step 1 seems to be 8.3.2, identification of strategies and solutions. What kind of options are we talking about here? Is it just backups?
Backups are one type, sure, but it's much broader. This stage is about brainstorming, really, looking widely at different approaches.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, say the BIA found your call center is critical, and the risk assessment flagged power outages as a high risk. Strategies might include having backup generators, or maybe diversifying, like having a second call center location, or perhaps enabling remote work for agents.
Ah, so different ways to achieve the same goal, keeping the call center running.
Precisely. Strategies are the, like diversification or hardening. Solutions are the how, the specific generator model, the remote work software, the second site contract. You want to explore lots of options first.
Okay, brainstorm resilience options. Then comes 8.3.3, selection of strategies and solutions. How do you choose? It can't just be cost, can it?
Cost is definitely a factor, but no, it's not the only one. You evaluate based on effectiveness. Does it actually reduce the risk? Feasibility, can we actually do this? Speed, does it meet the recovery time objectives from the BIA?
Right, how fast you need things back online.
Exactly. You also consider technical complexity, impact on employees, customers, and importantly, how sustainable is the solution long term? It's a balancing act.
Yeah, finding the sweet spot between cost, speed, effectiveness. Makes sense. Okay, once you've selected the solutions, 8.3.4 is resource requirements. This sounds like the practical check.
It is. It's the, okay, what do we actually need to make this happen stage? And it's not just money.
Right, you mentioned people, IT.
Yep. Personnel with the right skills, technology, equipment, maybe physical space, contracts with third parties. If your solution is cloud backup, you need the subscription money, yes, but also IT folks who know how to manage it, test restores, etc. You need the actual resources lined up.
Okay, lining up the ducks, the people, the tech, the cash. Finally, in this section, 8.3.5, implementation of solutions. Pretty self-explanatory.
It is. This is where you actually do it. Configure the backups, sign the lease on the alternate site, train the staff on remote working tools, whatever the chosen solutions involve. It's taking it from paper to reality.
So 8.3 is all about going from, problems to, okay, here's how we'll handle them, and we're putting those things in place.
That's a good way to put it.
All right, next up is 8.4, business continuity plans and procedures. Now we're getting into the actual instructions for crunch time, yeah.
Correct. 8.4.1, general, just introduces these plans as the formal, documented guides for what to do during and after a disruption. The step-by-step stuff.
Okay. And 8.4.2 talks about a response structure. What's that? Like, who's in charge?
Exactly. Think of it as the incident command structure for the business. Who leads the response? Who makes key decisions? Who reports to whom? What are the different teams, IT recovery, communications, operations, and what are their specific roles?
So everyone knows their job when things get chaotic.
That's the idea. Clarity under pressure. Avoids confusion, speeds up response. Like having a designated captain and crew rolls on a ship in a storm.
Nice analogy. Okay, then 8.4.3, warning and communication. This sounds super important, keeping people in the loop.
Absolutely vital. 2 parts here. First, procedures for getting warnings, monitoring weather, security alerts, internal triggers. Second, procedures for communicating during an incident.
Communicating with who?
Everyone who needs to know. Internally, employees, management, externally, customers, suppliers, maybe regulators, the media. Clear, timely communication is key to managing expectations and reducing panic. Think about bad communication during a service outage. Super frustrating.
Definitely. Being left in the dark is the worst. Okay, so then we get to the core. 8.4.4, business continuity plans themselves. What actually goes in these plans?
These are the detailed playbooks. They should have things like activation triggers, what makes us actually use this plan, contact lists for key people, step-by-step procedures for specific scenarios like, what do we do exactly if the main office floods, details on the strategies and solutions we chose earlier, and communication protocols.
The goal being?
The goal is an actionable guide. something someone can pick up, maybe under stress, and follow to respond and recover effectively. Needs to be clear, practical, not just, vague statements.
Right, a real how-to manual for the specific crisis.
hmm
And the last part of 8.4 is 8.4.5, recovery, getting back to business as usual.
Essentially, yes. This outlines the steps to restore normal operations after the immediate crisis is handled. Restoring IT systems, moving back to the primary site if you left, restocking supplies, resuming services. It links back to those recovery time objectives from the BIA. How quickly do we need things fully back?
Okay, so 8.4 provides the map and the instructions for the journey through disruption and back. Makes sense. Now, 8.5 is the exercise program. Planning is one thing, but practice makes perfect.
You got it. 8.5.1, general, says exactly that. Having plans isn't enough. You need to test them, practice them, make sure they actually work and people know what to do.
Like fire drills?
Precisely like fire drills. You hope you never need it, but the practice means you're ready if you do.
So how do you make sure the drills are effective? 8.5.2 is design of the exercise program.
Good question. You don't just randomly run tests. You need a structured program. Think about, what's the objective of this exercise? What part of the plan are we testing? What type of exercise?
Types like...
Could be a simple tabletop discussion, just talking through a scenario, or a functional exercise testing one specific function, like data recovery,
Right.
or a full-scale simulation involving multiple teams, maybe even external partners. You also decide how often to test and how you'll measure success. It should build complexity over time.
Start simple, build up confidence and capability. Got it. Then 8.5.3 is exercising business continuity plans. That's the actual test itself.
Yep. This is where you simulate the disruption. Could be a fake cyber attack alert, a simulated power outage notice, and teams use the plans to respond.
And the point is to see what breaks.
Sort of. It's to identify gaps, weaknesses, maybe parts of the plan that are unclear or don't work as expected. It also gives people practice in their roles.
Yeah.
Critically, you capture lessons learned afterwards.
So you use the exercise to improve the plan.
Exactly. Find the problems in practice, not during the real thing. It's a feedback loop for improvement.
Okay, makes perfect sense. Test, learn, refine. Now the final section of Clause 8 is 8.6, evaluation of business continuity, documentation, and capabilities. Sounds like looking back and making sure it's all still good.
That's the essence of it. 8.6.1 General highlights this need for ongoing evaluation. The world changes, the business changes, so the BCMS needs to keep pace. It's not static.
So how do you evaluate? 8.6.2 mentions measuring effectiveness. Are there specific metrics?
There should be. Organizations need to define how they'll measure if the BCMS is actually working. This could involve looking at exercise results. Did we meet our recovery targets in the simulation? Tracking how long recovery took, maybe surveying employees on their awareness, gathering feedback.
Using data, not just feeling.
Right. Data-driven insights. Are we getting more resilient? Where are the weak spots? Metrics help answer that.
And the end result of all this evaluation, according to 8.6.3, outcomes.
The main outcome should be continuous improvement. Identifying areas where the plans need updating, maybe strategies need tweaking, perhaps the exercise program needs adjusting, or maybe training needs are identified.
So it feeds back into the whole system.
Exactly. It ensures the BCMS stays relevant, effective, and actually supports the organization's resilience goals over the long haul.
Wow. Okay, so Clause 8 really covers the whole operational life cycle, doesn't it? From planning how to operate resiliently, figuring out risks and impacts, building solutions, writing the plans, testing them, and then constantly checking and improving. It really is the engine room.
That's a perfect summary. Clause 8 is where the theory hits the ground and becomes action. A well-implemented operation clause, following this ISO 223313 guidance, is absolutely fundamental for an organization not just to survive disruptions, but maybe even come out stronger. It's the core of practical resilience.
So for you listening, as we wrap up, maybe think about these elements: understanding impacts, assessing risks, having plans, testing them. How might that apply beyond big companies, maybe in your own team, your community group, or even just your personal life when facing the unexpected? Something to mull over.
Definitely food for thought. It's all about being prepared.
But thanks for taking this deep dive into Clause 8 with us today.